Me too.
Was it fun, Tara?
Yeah, I got a manicure and pedicure, and she did a pedicure, a shoulder and back massage, and eyebrow waxing.
Oh my. Okay, that is like the works. I want to go. How fun. Um, oh, you're supposed to have your in-person book club today, but we canceled due to the snow. Okay, it's supposed to be frigid too. We'll talk about that later though. So I'm just going to announce that we are doing All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers for our book chosen by Delina. She was supposed to come. I'm not sure she'll be able to, but hopefully. And we read to the end of chapter 12. And then they wanted to give a few trigger warnings in case somebody's watching and they're uncomfortable with these topics. I want them to be able to click off now. So, child kidnapping, child sexual abuse, and child murder. So far, that's all we know. But I just wanted to put that out there so they can not be here if they don't want to be. And then let's get started with your favorite quote. And we'll start with Aaron.
Actually, I didn't really pick any out this time. I know I didn't pick any out last time either, so you guys probably think I don't pay attention to what I read, but I don't know. I think I was just more like engrossed in the story and trying to figure out what was going on than actually like picking out quotes. But I guess there is one that kind of like I didn't go back and look at it today, but as I was like thinking over what I read, I feel like there was a part where Chrissy said like, and maybe I'm thinking of this wrong, so please correct me. But I feel like there was a part where she said something about like my daughter just died and I'm more worried about what my neighbors think. Is that did that actually happen? Did
It
she say
did.
that or like think that in her mind?
It
Because I've
did.
been thinking about that over and over and I couldn't believe she said that.
There were a lot of things that she said that were really off-putting to me. So I wasn't surprised that she became a person of interest because she's just not responding in the way that I would. So that I do know. Emily, did you have any favorite quotes or themes? And I love your lip color, by the way. You know I love a red lip.
You. I don't. As I said on the page, like in our group, I'm really struggling with this one, and I'll get into why, but the parallels, they're more than just parallels for me the further I got into the book. I did stop the end of chapter 12 today, this week, but it's way too similar to the John Benet Ramsey case for me that nothing else is sticking out other than that. Like it is almost she has almost copied it exactly. There are only a few changes.
I saw. So when you made that
Yeah.
post, I did some diving. So Ashley Flowers is a podcaster for true crime. And I was wondering, like, why would she make it so obvious, right? So she personally has an obsession with the John Benet Ramsey case, and similar to Margot's obsession with January Jacobs.
Yeah, it
So
shows.
she was mimicking her pervasiveness of that and how she can't stray away from it and the way Margot can't stray away from January Jacobs. However, and she revisited it with another death. And I'm really, really hoping that's going to twist the narrative so it won't look so similar. But I did look into her, like, accusations of her stealing that storyline. It was intentional.
Yeah.
And if you read I almost started to ask the questions in the back of the book, maybe like the first two, because she has a whole thing of questions for discussion. But I stopped because it says nothing and no one are as they seem in this book. So I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it's different than what we think. But when you and Aaron pointed the things out, I was like, I'm gonna watch a
Yeah.
documentary. And then I was like, what is happening here?
At this point, at the end of chapter 12, I don't know if it's just because I am a true crime complete nerd and we're the same age, right? I'm 46.
Yeah,
I distinctly remember the Jean Benet Ramsey case from 1986.
yeah.
Like scary details about it. And so for me, it's very, very distracting, but it feels as a writer like lazy authorship.
Yeah. So
At this point, it does. I'm hoping it gets better. I'm really hoping, but at this point, it just feels lazy. So I didn't have anything that really stuck out at this point. It's just, I can't get past that right now.
I 100% agree where you're coming from. I do. And that's why I went diving. Like, what the heck? How did she get away with this? Hi, Jameson. Good evening. Hi,
Hi.
Heather. Welcome. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, honey. It's so good to see your face. That's why I went looking to figure out, why is there hi, Heather. It's so nice to
Hi.
see you. Such a strong connection between this and the John Bonet. But you know what? I was so caught up, but I didn't even notice it until you said something. And then Erin, reiterated, and I'm like, holy crap, she was also in pageants. There was too much. So to catch everyone up, we haven't really done anything except for start asking people what their favorite quotes are. And Erin and Emily didn't really have quotes, they just had themes, like Erin says she can't stop thinking about how suspicious the mom is, and like the things she says. And then Emily's is it's really hard for her because there's such a correlation to the John Bonet case. And I was explaining that after watching a YouTube video, I was like, okay, yeah, she's right. And so I went Googling, and Ashley Flowers is a true crime podcaster, and she's obsessed with John Bonet and the way that Margot is obsessed with January Jacobs. So it was intentional, not something that she was trying, and I'm hoping it will change, but that's where we are right now. So I'm going to move people around in just 1 minute here. Cicely, it would be you next. Do you have a favorite quote or theme?
Sorry, I was still muted. No.
Sure, I understand. This one is not like I have some quotes, but it's not one of those emotional tuggers where we have like 15 quotes in one page, It's more a mystery and a thriller, which is kind of up me and Erin's alley more. So it should be interesting. And then before we go any further, Heather, did you want to tell us just a little bit about you, like where you live, your astrological sign, your favorite color and favorite book? I don't want to put you on the spot. You absolutely do not have to. The mute button the first time around never works for anyone. There
Yes.
you go.
Sorry, I'm not used to doing Zoom on my iPad, so I'm like, where is everything?
We're all the same.
Yes. Hi. Let's see. I'm Heather. I'm a Virgo. My favorite color, I don't know, purple, I guess. What else did you ask me?
So what is your favorite book or favorite genre of books or favorite author?
Ooh. Gosh, I don't know if I could narrow it down.
Yeah.
I usually read like I don't know, kind of sciencey stuff. Like this isn't my usual read, but I'm really enjoying it. I've read books like this in the past. So I just finished The Naturalist Society. And it was a fun mashup of like it's kind of nonfiction in that it's science based, but it's also set with like a magical universe. Like magic is real. And so it was kind of a really fun mashup for me. So it's kind of a mix of my two favorite genres of nonfiction and like science stuff and fantasy.
I'm so glad to have you. I think I might be the only person that loves nonfiction and I do a lot of epidemiological and psychological reading and studies.
Nice.
It's going to be so fun to have you here.
Nice, yeah. And I actually really connected with the uncle in this. I'm currently home on disability, going through my own neurological fun stuff. So I was like, oh wow, this one's hitting real close to home for me. So
oh my gosh.
it's
Okay.
kinda weird.
Okay. Well, we're all here to help and support. And
Thanks. Yeah.
be
So-
a little. I do know we have one caretaker here in our group that does take care of her grandfather, and I took care of both my grandparents who had dementia at different stages, like
Yeah.
some type of dementia. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is hitting my fields a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I suspect MS, but we will find out more on Thursday. So
Well, please keep us updated.
Thanks. Yeah,
We'll all
definitely
be
will.
sending all of our good woo to you.
Thanks. I appreciate it
Um,
so much.
did you have any quotes or themes that you'd like to really point out?
Um, not yet. I'm just kind of enjoying this is kind of my first book club. I just really like to read. So I'm like, all right, let's try book club.
Right? Yeah, I love that. Just staying in the moment.
Yeah.
Jameson, how about you?
I had a couple quotes, but I think it's just because I feel some sort of connection with Chrissy. But I like the one where she said, when he proposed, she said she knew the ring was a tether forever binding her to this man that she was just now realizing she hardly knew. But it was also a ticket to so much more. The ring could open her world in ways she'd only ever imagined. It would mean for the first time in her life that she could stop worrying about money, that she could stop fighting so fucking hard for everything. It would mean for the first time in her life that she might finally be able to exhale.
I
And
went
I
through that too
just
with my first marriage. That hits the feels. Yep.
I guess I don't know. I understand being in that exact situation and having to make that decision, and I did not make that decision, and she did, and I think that that's why I like her so much. But
I made that decision. So I understand. I felt like I didn't have a choice. So yeah, totally feel her on that. It didn't work out, of course, but you know. Karen, how about you?
I actually had a couple. One was from Margot when she said, though to Margot the mud seemed more like quicksand. The more you fought it, the more it pulled you under. For years she thought she had escaped, and now here she was, back again. Um,
That's exactly right.
and um, and this was another one from Margot. She said, although she must have missed January desperately, it was the fear she remembered most. Um, and that resonated with me because, Margot becomes a true crime reporter. And with having this experience of having a friend be killed when she was just a little girl.
6,
So,
7, yeah, that's little.
and then I wondered, it's like, so she remembers the fear more than missing her friend. So I kind of like, okay, was that her motivation of becoming a true crime
Oh yeah,
reporter?
I think
You
so.
know,
I think so. I think she wanted to investigate. I think she was obsessive with it for coping, like with the law. I think you're onto something with that. In fact, it doesn't say, I haven't gotten far enough, but I bet you Ashley Flowers has lost somebody in a similar way, and that's why she's a true crime podcaster. I got to do more research, but yeah, I think you're really onto something. You said you had a couple?
yes. So, another one was this was Chrissy, kind of related to what Jameson was saying, but it says Christy couldn't have known then everything that kiss would lead to. If she had, she never would have done it. If she had, she would have run fast in the opposite direction. So, to me, that means obviously I don't think that her and Billy had a good relationship. And if she could have gone back in time, she would have, hate to say it, had the abortion and run like she wanted to, like to get out of town to to escape that area.
I think that sort of ties into Aaron's theory about her. Like something's off. Typically, after you have children, and you love your kids so much that you don't say things like, I would have done something that would have made it so I never had these kids. So that gives me like icky feelings. I'm really curious though. I think you have some really good precursors to what might come. How about
Right.
you, Melody?
No, I don't have any quotes from this book. If I wasn't reading this for book club, I would have given it up already. I'm not liking this book at all.
Really?
I'm just finding it really boring. I probably would have just skipped to the end to see who killed who and been done with it. I continued and came here because I wanted to hear all of your thoughts on it and see if like maybe I'm missing something. I just want to know what you guys think about it. Like,
Well, I appreciate you giving it a chance. I
Yeah.
really do. I respect that a lot. For whatever reason, I think it may be geared towards my type of genre, maybe. I don't know. I just really like predicting what's going to happen and finding out if I'm right. I kind of like the excitement of that. But it may seem too typical for you and Emily. It may be like there's nothing here to predict. It's just too,
yeah, I don't know because I like mysteries and thrillers and things like that. This one just is not. It reminds me too much of something else, and I'm not like a true crime junkie. I don't have the memories of the John Bonet. I mean, I remember it. I'm 46 also. But like the John Bonet case, I don't remember the details and things like Emily does. But I just when I started reading it, I'm like, okay, I know I've read this before.
You'll find out Emily kind of has an eidetic memory.
Yeah.
Things stick with her. Oh, yep, you just commented for yourself. I think it's really awesome about you. You bring up things from a different perspective. I don't know. I'm kind of just like disbarring that right now that I know that she did it intentionally, but we'll see where this goes. I have a feeling there's a lot of people on board with you. We usually have a bigger group. So a couple people might have been like, this is just not,
Well, I just looked her up on Wikipedia. I was
Yeah.
curious about what you said, if, she had something in her life, and it doesn't mention anything, but she's been accused of plagiarism before.
Well, isn't that her first book?
For her podcast.
Okay, from her podcast.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's a crime
fascinating.
junkie podcaster. But her and her partner or something were accused of plagiarizing content, in some cases verbatim from various sources, including newspaper articles, other podcasts, the TV show On the Case with Paula Zahn.
That's interesting. She's a friend of Delina's. Like she knows her personally.
Okay.
So I'm very curious, once Delina watches the video, if she can chime. I know she didn't get all of her reading done. So I'm really curious what her thoughts and take is on it as well. Nikki, first I want to check in with you. How is your baby doing?
She is doing so much better. There wound up being no blockage. She's finally able to eat and she's back to her normal activity level.
I'm so glad. If for anybody who doesn't know, Nikki's dog had a blockage and had to go to the emergency room, and she's the most beautiful little Jack Russell. So I just want to make sure that she was healing and on the mend and okay. Did you have any quotes that you or thoughts?
So I am actually enjoying this book. I'm on the younger end. I'm about to be 35. So I don't know much about the other case that people have been talking about. But this book really hit me. So I'm currently in Columbus. There's a population of 1 million or more. But I am originally from a small town of less than 1,000 people. And so one of the quotes that Karen had said about knee deep in mud and Wakarusa just being like the mud being like quicksand. So one of the sayings that we used to always say back home, I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania called Lock Haven. And it was always, if you don't get out now, you'll never get out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other quotes that really hit me was the residents of Wakarusa, Indiana could spin gossip faster than a spin on its web. Again, small town, everybody knows everybody knows everything. So this book is very interesting to me. We actually had closer to home, we actually had a big disappearance / suspected murder cold case going for the longest time. So I don't know, this book really hits me in some way. I'm very curious to see which way it goes.
Yeah. I think for people who are more analytical, it may be more challenging because it has so many distinctive things to the John Bonet, but I really love it. So I'm so glad somebody else does. I don't know. I try to go in with the biggest open mind, but it's hard. Once you guys said something, I was like, oh man, this is not good. Tara, how about you?
I didn't do any quotes this time because I was listening to it, not reading it. And I like mystery type of books and like thriller type of books, so I'm interested to see where this goes, but I don't know yet if I like it or hate it.
Yeah, yeah. The first book that Aaron and I did together was called First Lie Wins, and it's like one of the number one books of 2024, right?
I did not like that book.
I had such a hard time with it. But I pushed through and I'm like, why does everybody love it? And I don't. But for some reason I don't get that same vibe this time. But I can see where you're coming from. I really do. And I just respect all of you for still showing up. And maybe with our discussion, it might get a little more, interesting. Stephanie, how about you? I saw that you in the chat, you were slow at first, but you've picked up and you kind of like it.
Yeah, I kind of like it now, but yeah, it does resemble the Jean Benet case. I remember when I can't even remember how old I was at the time, but that's all my mom watched on TV. That's all I watched on TV. I was really young, but I was invested in it. Um, so a couple of quotes. One that Luke said, so people will talk sure, but you won't be able to believe a word they say.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. And then Dave, her friend, said this place takes everything unique about you and spins it to make you seem fundamentally fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that one hit me
resonated.
too. Yes, that was one of the ones I picked too. Um, I find it interesting that she picked a case, unfortunately, that has been dissected by everybody 1,000 times. It's not like this is just a one-off, This people are still obsessed with that case. I wanted to give you guys my favorite quotes. I have two. My first one is about Luke, and Margot is talking about him, and she says her uncle's illness had a way of making her appreciate him more. Every joke, every glimpse of the man he used to be was a little treasure she wanted to hold in her hand. I was taking care of my grandparents. That was like the best part of it because every once in a while, like a bit of them would come back to you, and it was just like, this is like the best thing ever. You wanted to savor it. So I related to her on that level. And then the other one that she talks about is Margot's chest loosened. She hadn't anticipated just how hard it would be to live with someone you loved who only sometimes loved you back. My grandpa was extremely combative, and I'm talking like every other day we had a fight. So it wasn't his fault, But yeah, I really relate, and I'm almost a little trepidatious about what's going to happen. It might be a little triggering. I probably should have put Alzheimer's, or I don't know. We don't know what he has exactly, and some kind of neurological issues in the beginning. I wanted to start with my favorite question, which was Nikki, and I just wanted to applaud you for all the questions. Thank you. So Nikki said, I'll start with the most obvious question. Do you think Chrissy killed her daughter? If not, then who? And do you think it was accidental or on purpose? And we'll start back with Tara.
I do not know if she did it, but I don't feel like she did. And I don't know who did. Like, I'm interested to see if like those other connected cases potentially um are connected or like have the same person, but I honestly I didn't feel like she did. And then they were talking about it and I was like, wait, I didn't think that at all until you just said that.
I didn't
So
either. I
yeah.
didn't either.
So I don't know yet and I'm interested to find out.
I have a suspect, but I'm going to wait till you guys give yours. Stephanie, what about you? Do you think she did it? Who do you think, if not? And do you think it was accidental or on purpose?
So this kind of reminds me of Home is Where the Bodies Are in a way. And remember how it ended up being the brother, but he did on purpose. I'm wondering if maybe her twin brother did something and it was an accident, and the mom tried to cover it up with the spray paint that was on the robe.
That was my prediction. Totally my prediction. That is my theory so far. Yeah. And I think he's done the other killing. I think and I don't necessarily know if it was an accident or whatever, but I think he's messed up and I think he's still lurking around. And I think he was in a wig, dressed up, watching her. I think it's him. That's my theory. Nikki, how about you?
No, that was my theory too. I don't know if it was necessarily from Home is Where the Bodies Are or if it was an episode of Criminal Minds I watched, but it was the same thing where it was the older brother who wound up doing it. And then the family, not only the family, but the family and the town helped cover it up. And I'm kind of getting that vibe from this book that they're definitely covering up. They know who did it, but they don't want anybody to necessarily know.
Right, right. Well, there was things that Chrissy said, like in her suicide note, she apologized to him and said she was going to make it right. And so by killing herself and her being deemed the killer, then it kind of closes the case. I thought that was indicative. I don't know though, but yeah, I think, oh, Udi's here. I think that's really cool. She's coming in. How about you, Melody? Do you like, I know that the book is a little difficult. Did you have any? Or are you like, this is too easy? I already know who it is.
Well, I actually had the same theory that you guys do, and I hope it's the twin brother. Like, child killers to me are so creepy.
Yes.
I think that would definitely make it more interesting. Because how old were they supposed to be when the?
I have a theory on that too. They were six, five,
Okay.
yeah, six. I think, to hear me out,
Uh-huh.
I think that you know how she has a secret, right? That's one of the questions. It doesn't say whether they're like twins in the same womb or twins from separate. I wonder, because I know somebody this happened to. She got pregnant twice. So
Okay.
they
Yeah.
were in her womb at the same time by two different people.
Yeah.
And so I think he may have a more disturbed father, and then John Bennett. January, Lord have mercy, Emily, you got me spinning. January was Billy's. I don't know, and that messed him up even more. Like he's psychologically damaged from the start. That's kind of where I was going with it. But yeah, they were six.
Okay. Yeah, I hope he's the one that did it, and like intentionally. I don't want it to be an accident.
Yeah.
I just think that would be interesting. I
Yeah,
don't want to see it in real life, but for a book, sure.
Yes. And that would differentiate it from John Monet a lot, considering there isn't a second killer. But we'll see. We will see. Karen, how about
That
you?
you know of.
Did you have a theory?
I don't think that Chrissy killed her daughter. I hate to go back to the John Bonet case, but just because I watched the documentary last week, it's fresh in my mind. That I don't always like when people say that there is a normal way to grieve, because there's not. And people think that people who don't cry or don't act like they're sad are not grieving. And a lot of times they are. But it's not what people expect them to act like.
Right, exactly
I
right.
think a lot of times people are in shock and they just don't know how to deal with their emotions. And going back to like the John Benet Ramsey thing, the mother got a lot of flack for the way she acted on TV, and how she reacted to the whole thing. I still don't know who, I have, I guess, my own theories about the John Bonet thing, but I felt like the author was setting Chrissy up to be the fall person, but I think that's a red herring that they're trying to throw out there to make her be the guilty one, but then something else will be revealed.
I think everybody is really valid in that. However, I keep going back to what Erin said, and like there's some really nasty things that she said, and one of Erin's questions was about the spray paint on her on the little girl's nightgown and like the DNA that they found in her trunk. She's involved in some way.
I hate because I'm such a true crime junkie. Like to me, I think there's ways you can explain those things. Like she could have brushed up against the wall that had the spray paint on it because she was wearing the robe when
Why'd
she
she
came
hide
down the
it?
steps. What?
Why did she hide it?
I don't think she was hiding it. I don't think she even realized.
Mm.
Part of me thought she didn't even realize it was on there.
Mhm.
And then the thing about the what was the other thing about the car? It could have been her husband
Could have been.
who used her car. I mean, that's so my theories, I think, are it's either at this point, my theories are it's either the father or the brother.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're all in on it though. I think we're going to find out they all know in some way.
Right.
Jameson, how about you? I'm really curious to hear because you said that you kind of empathized with her and we're all like, you know, she didn't do it. What do you think?
I don't think she did it. I think that you can resent someone and still love them. And that doesn't make you a good mother, but it doesn't necessarily make you a bad one either. I don't think Chrissy did it. I don't think her brother did it. I think I think there was a cop involved because they are way too quick to say, "Oh no, this is what happened." I don't know who. I don't really have that theory yet, but I think what Chrissy is apologizing for, like in her suicide note, I think in the confusion of everything, because Jace was so troubled, I think she thought he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's why, because they keep saying like she could barely look at him. She couldn't stand to touch him. Like, I think that she thinks he did it, but I think that when we find out what happened later, I don't know if it's going to be like in the confusion of it all. I don't know. It still doesn't really explain. I don't know. So the spray paint and the DNA in her car. I mean, if she thought he did it and she were trying to protect him, that would explain those things.
Right.
That's kind of the direction I'm leaning to, but maybe that's because also that was the direction I leaned in the JonBenét case for a while. Like,
yeah,
they're trying to protect their kid. So I don't know if it's really the book or like JonBenét is one of my Roman Empire things. Like, it occupies a part of my, like, if I got the answer to 3 questions in the universe, one of them would be who killed JonBenét.
Yeah.
So I think somebody outside, I don't know, somebody that saw her at a competition or somebody that I think it was going to definitely be somebody that lives there in the.
Mm-hmm. I had a theory about the police, by the way. The best friend or the friend from high school, the guy that comes initially when they make a call that she's missing, the people from South Bend, Townsend, said you literally made every mistake in the like here today. If they're covering it up, it could be because of that, because they would be held at fault. But yes, I think there's something bad going on with the police. Something's being hidden. I agree 100% there. Yes, absolutely. And it could be something that they like have a resentment to Billy and his, monopolization of the town. Heather, how about you? Do you think that Chrissy did it? Do you think it was on purpose or an accident? Or if not, who do you think did?
So I don't think Chrissy did it. I think I'm kind of with you. I also grew up in a really small town, so I think there's definitely that like small town angle of some kind of cover up going on. So I'm like, yeah, let's go with a real fun conspiracy theory like thing for this story. I think it's way too convenient to be setting up the mom. And I wrote in like in one of the chats like they're giving her too much grief for not grieving correctly. And I'm like, she's got PTSD from her childhood. Like, she's gonna compartmentalize and not grieve the same way other people do because her brain doesn't work the same way. Like, So yeah,
Although
so
I don't,
that's my theory. What?
I was gonna say, although I don't have children, but I'm assuming that you
Oh,
do. I'm wondering if she masked to stay strong. She couldn't let herself feel enough because of she had to stay strong for Jace. Like she couldn't like fall apart.
yeah,
She still had a kid to, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I'm very good at compartmentalizing. So like I have to be like, nope, can't think about that right now. I have to focus on this because if I think about like whatever awful thing like is going on my kids right here, so I'm not gonna like say it out loud, but like I'll fall apart, like I have to focus on the questions that you're asking me
Right.
completely. So
I do too. I dissociate for protection. Emily,
yeah.
you have to say what you said in the chat out loud. That is so next level disturbing. How old would he have been, and how old would Chrissy have been? Are they the same? They're not. No,
They
Billy.
were all in high school. So Luke and Billy and Chrissy, they were all in high school together. So I think Luke is connected. I think that maybe he and Chrissy had a thing going on. She was the pretty girl, which is one of those correlations with the JonBenet Ramsey case, of course, which is always going to trigger my brain. I apologize, but you have the rich kid, the guy with all the money, which JonBenet Ramsey's dad did, and then yes, which the twins could be his.
That's what I was going
I
to.
think that something happened in the house. Somebody in the family accidentally did something. And that everybody is connected. So everybody's hands were on it. Billy's hands are on it, Chrissy's hands are on it, and Jace's hands are on it. And they're all protecting each other, right? Part of the reason why I think Luke is involved, not necessarily in her murder, but was involved with Chrissy, is because if the guy you live across the street with, you went to high school with, your good friend, your niece, spends all this time, if you all go to high school together and then his daughter dies and then his wife commits suicide, which I don't think she did. I think somebody killed her. I do. Then would you just not talk to him? You still live in the same town. You wouldn't. Even if you didn't know what to say 20 years later, 10 years later, you would try. You would be trying to have connections. And he's just like, oh, I haven't really talked to him.
Oh, no.
So it raises that, did Billy do something because they're not his? Because are they Luke's? So I have all these questions, but I don't.
That makes a lot. She was very nonchalant about having sex with him and kissing him. It was like, it's just something to do. So what if she had intimacy with somebody else? Her intention, I don't think, was to marry him. She was just
she wanted money for an abortion. Yeah, she wanted money for an abortion. He was like, we'll get married. So maybe she connected herself with Billy because Billy had money. Exactly. And thought, well, he'll give me money if he thinks they're his. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. But no, I don't think Chrissy directly killed her, but I think she's involved in the cover-up because she thinks somebody else did. She thinks Billy did or she thinks Jace did, which would be why she's so protective over Jace.
Did not even consider. I was just so caught up in him being, very cool. Cicely, how about you? Do you think Chrissy did it? I know you said you hadn't decided necessarily if you like the book or not. Have you decided if you like her or not?
Well, I don't think we know enough about Chrissy to know if we like her or not. I had that instant first thought, like, they're gonna put it on the mom because it's always the mom's fault. So like I have young adult children and listen, everything they do wrong is my fault. Like,
yeah.
I mean, from like they got a D to they said the F word in class to things I legitimately did teach them. Like my oldest kid gave a session on how dental dams work in sex ed as a sophomore in high school. It's like the best principal call I've ever had in my life. But like, so like it's always the mom's fault. It's always the mom's fault. Is anybody like, let's blame the dad? No.
No, never.
No.
There's a quote.
No. I
Um,
need like at least one ball so I can just get away with everything. Like it's always some
that is a really good point. It reminds me, I put it here. Um, she was talking to Townsend. She says, um, okay. Margot couldn't help but feel some deep buried prejudice in his word. It wasn't that she didn't believe women were capable of depravity, but saying Chrissy was guilty because she was different. Margot thought of, I hope I don't brutalize this, Wakarusa's original name, Salem, and all those women burning. I think that's a very, really good point. You're
I
right. They
don't
do.
I don't think that she did it, but my first thought was, oh, they're gonna pin on the mom because it always comes to us. Like
Yeah.
always, every time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like
Aaron,
it and we think that like if we see because I listen to some of the true crime stuff too, like they're always like, what was their mother like? Was she the worst? I bet she was the worst. Yeah, maybe, but I bet his dad sucked too. Like, come on. So
that is true.
I
As
think
a
they're gonna try and
society.
make it sound like it's her fault and it's gonna be something else. I do think that Luke knows what happened.
Mm,
I
yeah,
think he
he's
knows.
triggered, that's for sure. He's
Yeah, but
definitely.
I have like a little soft spot for people with dementia. I used to do the hospice volunteering and my two girls I was with the longest had it. And so I would get them in all different stages of whatever and you just kind of roll with it.
Mhm. Yeah, same with
Um,
my grandparents.
yeah, sometimes like you might have like a great afternoon and then the next time it's like, whoo, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I have a soft spot for him too, and that might be clouding my judgment, Emily. Oh my gosh. Aaron, so I
Yeah.
know you have bad vibes from Chrissy, and you're notoriously right about people. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think she did it, or do you think she covered it up?
I do have bad vibes just because I don't think that she really wanted to be a mother and she didn't really, I don't know, I don't want to say she didn't care for her children because she probably did care for them, but didn't love them as much as she should have as a mother. But I don't think she did it. I think just because, and I don't know if it's because the author took so much inspiration from the JonBenet Ramsey case or if it's just because I'm like seeing this in the book. But like, there's a big theory that JonBenet's brother Burke did it and the parents covered it up. So that I think that that's probably what is going on here. I don't know though, but I feel like maybe Jace did it. The mom's covering it up. That's why she had that paint on her robe. I don't know. That's just my theory so far.
I think she's involved in some way. I just don't know if she's the one that like I think once we get more details of how she was murdered or how she died and stuff, we may have a better idea if the son was capable at 6 years old. I mean, they're capable of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think you're right. She's definitely involved. We covered your question about what is the other thing Chrissy is keeping from Billy, sort of. Did anybody have any other theory? Um, I'm really curious if anybody had any inclination. You can like raise your hand if you did, or like wave at me if you want to say, other than do you think something from her past, or do you think it was something with the babies or anything? I don't know what else it could be. Stephanie, yeah.
So mine's not necessarily about who could have done something, but one thing sticks in my mind is her cop friend. He should have known better than to touch the crime scene with the glass. So I don't know if maybe he knows what's going on
Mm-hmm.
and he might be part of it. I don't know, but he should have known better because he's law enforcement.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I did want to circle back to Udi because you didn't have a chance to tell us if you had any favorite quotes or any themes that really stood out to you.
I honestly didn't get that far. It's been a crazy week. I only
Has
got to like
been.
chapter 5. But that cop dude, 10 he's my suspect right now. That with my as far as how I've gotten, and it with you guys saying stuff, it kind of makes sense now. To all the things that he did touch. I forgot how much stuff he touched.
Oh yeah, he did. He really ruined the whole scene. What rat babies do we have tonight?
Oh, this is Big Mama, Yzma, and Aurora. This is Aurora.
Aurora woke up to come to book club.
Yeah, she's no longer
Sweet.
Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, I love that.
And
How
and
cute.
Yzma's down at the bottom. She's being a butthole right now. She
Oh,
just
well,
wants to
Heather
go.
has never got to see our honorary mascot. So those
Oh,
are rat babies that Udi has
yeah.
over there.
I
They're
have 7.
Oh, I was showing my daughter. I was like,
yeah.
look at the rats.
She even has one with a white face that she calls Ghost Face. It's my favorite. They're so cute.
He was out earlier. Him
I
and
saw
his
you had
brother.
when you first came in.
That's the one I had. Yeah.
Oh.
They wanted to come out. It was weird. He never wants to come out.
Oh, he knows. He knows I'm his
Yeah.
person. Erin, I see your hand is up. Do you have something else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I also wanted to mention, what was I gonna say? Oh, we keep talking about how that hometown cop, her high school friend, messed up the crime scene. But what do you think the detective meant when she met with that retired detective and he said Chrissy messed up the crime scene so bad that they couldn't prove that she did it? What do you think he meant? Because in her point of view, she didn't do anything.
Right. Okay, so if you're following, the theory that she's covering something up, she may have tried to clean up in some way. Like, I think she wrote the thing on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, and so I think she's all over everything, and it makes it impossible. But you couldn't convict her because it was her home. It's just the evidence is wonky. And then you have him, and it's a mess. It's a horrible mess. And I think she knew that because she knew that she was dead already. There was no reason to preserve evidence, you know? Karen asked, do you think that Luke may have been a part of January's murder, or at least covering it up? He said several times she's gone when seeing news stories, and we kind of touched about that. He's seeing the news stories about Natalie, it's triggering him. And with his, cognition going in and out, he may think it's January. Or do you think he's referring to his deceased wife? I think it's a mixture of all three, but I'm curious if anybody, I mean, we kind of covered, we think, unfortunately, Emily said she thinks he might be involved. Does anybody else have any other theories in some way? Or do you agree with Emily with him being involved, maybe with Chrissy? Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. It's not the light I wanted for Luke. Karen asked, do you think Chrissy actually committed suicide? I love this question. Or was it staged to look like one? And some of you have touched upon that you thought it was, set up. Erin, do you have a theory? Oh yeah, we're getting staged in the chat. How about you, Erin?
I don't know. Okay, I didn't even think of it until you guys said it, but maybe she may have mentioned it in the book that maybe it wasn't a suicide. But yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe it wasn't, but I don't know who would have done it because she's the one that in my theory covered up her daughter's death. So who would kill her then? I don't know. I'm so confused.
I am too. I was so on board with her doing herself because she left the note. But now that I read the note doesn't make sense. Like, how does killing yourself fix it for Jace? I'm not sure. I'm real wishy-washy on it now. And if anybody has any theory, if she didn't kill herself, who killed her? Cicely, what do you think?
So I always have 100,000 little theories throughout every book. But the other thing too is the cop went around and touched up all on everything, like he knows he's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So probably his mom sucks, but no, I'm sorry. But maybe he had already touched everything, right? And then if she were going to come clean later, somebody's going to have to off her too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now, my theory is that Luke knows, and it's the naughty policeman. But that could change.
Does anybody know how old Jace was when Chrissy died? Was he an adult? Was he 16? Is it possible he killed her?
It was 10 years later. So
yeah, so
it could have been about 16. Yeah.
Oh, holy smokes. Anybody have any, Emily, you have any other theories? You do. Of course
You
you do.
guys are gonna
Blow
hate
your
me.
mind.
I think Billy killed her.
You think Billy
I
did
think her husband killed her. Yeah.
out of necessity,
Because,
rage?
well, I think it's because either he thinks she did it or he knows she's covering it up.
Oh boy.
Because he's suspicious of her.
Oh yeah.
Remember? Like he finds this piece of this red spray paint piece of her robe at the bottom of the hamper, and he's like, "You're lucky I found this before they did." So I think, yeah, I don't think Luke actually killed anybody, but I think he's kept silent. I think he knows. Yes, I think he knows more. Either he was involved with Chrissy and the twins are his, and so he's keeping quiet, or he thinks Billy killed
What if Billy
January, or he
confided
did,
in
or
him?
Billy did. Right, or
Yeah.
Billy did, or he knows Jace did, or whatever. I think that Billy, Chrissy, and Jace, their hands are all over it. One of them killed her, accidentally or on purpose, but I think Billy killed Chrissy.
Okay. I want to go back to Aaron with adding this question on. You had asked if you were Billy, would you have taken the robe to protect her? I want to go back to that and have everyone answer that along with this question. Would you have taken the robe? Like
Absolutely not. Are you not seeing me? Are you are
you,
you going
Aaron,
back to
yes,
me?
you.
Oh, no. I love my husband more than anyone in the world, but my children will always come first. If I think, no matter how much I love him, if I think that he did something to hurt them, I'm not covering that up. No way.
Wow.
I
Okay.
wouldn't.
I don't have kids, so my first instinct was like, yeah, yeah. But I don't have a child. I guess sometimes I put my dog, and I'm thinking like, Gwen wouldn't have made it out of that house alive. So, yeah. Uh, Cicely, how about you?
Or to find my unmute button. I think it would depend. So if he took and hid the robe because he knows that she didn't do it, but she is helping cover it up, 100% I would do that. Like real morally gray in a lot of ways over here. But if he thought that she killed the child, like um if I thought somebody hurt my children, like nobody would ever find their body.
No.
Like,
Yeah. That
I
is
mean,
fascinating.
but if he hid it and was like, she didn't do this, but she's trying to help our son, or she's trying to help whatever person, me, someone else, that's different to me.
How big thing to ask, would you cover for your son? Would you cover for your child? You guys all have kids. You're saying you wouldn't maybe for your spouse, but would you cover for your kid?
Depends.
Uh-huh.
If they murdered someone, no.
Yeah, I think I
But
would. But not
I
my own
don't know.
child, not my other child. Oh
Not
man,
my other child, but if it was
a
self-defense,
rando.
yeah.
Yeah.
Self-defense, I would cover that right up.
Right, right. Oh,
No, my
it's
family's super
terrible to
good at
think of
that.
that. It
Yeah.
is. Okay, Emily, so what is your thought? So back to the original question that you did answer, tagging on to that, would you have taken the rope to protect her or Jace?
So that is a hard one. Like I said in the chat, like if my I would 100% dispose of a body for my spouse. I feel like I would do that, but I think it would depend. Like Cicely is saying, it really depends. My own child, absolutely not, absolutely not. I don't think I would protect anybody, in that case. But I think the reason why Billy does is the more I think about it, I think Billy did. I think Billy killed January. I don't think it was necessarily intentional, but I think he did. And so that's why he's so adamant anytime anybody asks him and when Margot talks to him and he's like, she didn't do it. And he gets so defensive is because he knows who did.
Or he knows.
But she, right, but she, in spray painting, then had it on her sleeve and hid it. So I think in that case, no, I would, especially if I was guilty and I was trying to push the blame somewhere else, or if my child was guilty and your child is 6 years old and accidentally killed your other 6 year old child, um, maybe you would crucify your spouse, especially if your children are not your children because of your spouse. If you find those things out 100%, you're going to be like, let the bitch fry.
Yes,
So it's weird to me, considering my theories on this, that he would take the rope. Unless he broke the window in the basement to make it look like somebody broke in and he was just trying to like make it all go away.
where she could have done that to cover for Jake. You're right. You're right. You've opened my mind to some things. How about you, Heather? So, if you were in that position and you found this piece of evidence, would you have, taken it to like protect one of them, or would you have turned it over?
You'll have to refresh my memory. So Billy saw that she had paint on her robe, right?
Yes, on the hem.
On the hem of the robe. Oh, see, I would have just assumed that she brushed up against it. Like, I would have had an innocent explanation unless I truly, like, thought you did it.
My suspicion is that it was dry when she found it. Like when he found it, it was dry. And supposedly when she screamed, it was only a few moments after she found it. So for her to get wet paint puts her in a weird position. I first thought that too.
Yeah.
I had to go back and read it when I saw the question. I was like, wait a minute. Can she have just grazed upon it? But it had, it was like that had happened a few hours earlier. So
that makes sense.
Would you have turned it over, or would you have? And is it different for a spouse versus a kid?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a hard question to answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on what other stuff's going on, because I don't have enough backstory.
I think we're going to know next week what we would have done after we get more details on what happened. Jameson, I have a feeling I know your answer. I think if it was your spouse, you'd be like, hell no, I'm covering nothing. But if it's my child, I'm doing everything I can. But I'm curious because you always surprise me.
I don't think that you'll ever know what you're going to do till you're in a situation like that for 100%. I don't think she committed suicide, by the way. I think maybe she started to figure out what was going on. I think she found something out that put her in danger, because somebody is telling Margot that she's not safe here. So I think Chrissy found something out. But the robe thing, if something happened, like, and we've all seen 100 movies where, okay, this was an accident. There's no need for us all to go to jail. Let's fix this. So, but he seems genuinely shocked that, like, what is this? What's going on? So that makes me think he had no idea about anything happening
really well.
Until he finds this robe. Like, or is he a psycho and he's just like pretending he doesn't know? But I don't think he did it either. But I don't know.
But Emily's opened my mind to it.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do. If I were 100% certain that my spouse hadn't killed my kid, I would probably ask some questions before I just handed something over to the cops. But if there were any doubt in my mind, absolutely not. Like, I'm protecting my kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, I think the adrenaline, if I didn't know anything and I had to make a quick decision, I would have taken it. It depends if I had time to think about it, you know? I wouldn't repercussions of something I didn't know everything about. Karen, do you think she committed suicide? Do you think she was murdered? Who do you think she was murdered by? And would you have taken that to protect her?
I don't think she committed suicide. Um, I think that's too easy of a escape for this plot. Um, because as somebody mentioned, her being found in the doorway or the entryway, it's a little crazy um that somebody would commit suicide right in the front of the door or whatever it
That was an
was.
odd. Yes, that's a really good point. They found her in the front room, and Margot said she should have done that in a place
Right.
alone. Yeah, that's interesting.
Um, I I my gut feeling, and I promise I haven't read further because I'm just thinking of all the books I've read I read about true crime. I'm like, I have a feeling that it is Billy. That
Mm.
Billy is the one who killed January and killed Chrissy. Um, I think he was gaslighting her in some aspect. Like he could have put the spray paint on the robe to make her look
He
to
could
make her
have.
look guilty.
He could have. He could have. Uh, yeah, you guys have
And then
really
I think
opened my
he could
mind.
have been saying, "Oh my God, what did you do?" as a way to make her feel like start questioning herself. I mean, maybe even though there's like no signs yet that she had any memory problems at that time, but you know, like Emily just said, if she's in shock, she's probably going to question what is real and what's not.
Or like Jameson said, maybe at 10 years later, she started to uncover information that made it so she couldn't be alive anymore. You know, they found things out that he did. Melody, how about you? Do you think she committed suicide? Do you think that there's something else here?
I don't think she committed suicide. I need a little more information about it, I think. And like you said, I think next time we'll have a little more information. I think if I had to guess, I would say either Billy killed her because he really thought she killed January, or Jace did it. Hoping for Jace.
Yeah.
I want a psychopath.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Jace. Although, I mean, whoever did murder a child, you know, the psychopath, no matter what, but a kid
Yeah.
psychopath is totally. Aaron said, I have one more theory. What if someone did break in or Billy made it look like that, wrote the message on the wall, and was meaning to kill Chrissy and killed January by mistake? Oh, and then killed her 10 years later. That wall message on the wall was not written by a child. I do think that if it was written and it was a cover up for Jace, that was written by Chrissy. But that's an interesting theory. I think we're torn between Billy the cop and Jace. I will tell you that I am going to do a contest before we go any further. I'm going to rewatch this episode before we do our third meeting, and whoever predicted correctly will get a good goodie. Or next week, if we don't know. So Nikki, where are you? Did she kill herself? Did you know? If not, who did?
I am being pulled so many different ways in this. I definitely don't think she killed herself. It's too easy. It's way too easy. But I don't know. I want it to be Jace. But the way that Billy is acting is just weird. And now keep in mind this town is the whole, they got their reputation they got to keep. It's a small town. They're a small good Christian town. So I think that's why if it was Billy, I can see the town covering for him because they got to keep that good Christian reputation going.
Well, and he was like King Dingaling of the town.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
yes.
Yeah.
They can't have a killer going about. They can't have people committing suicide. Everything's all good and sunflower and sunshine around here.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I keep jumping back and forth between, is it Billy? Is it Jace? I want it to be Jace, but Billy's not looking too good either.
No, it's not. Udi, I know you didn't make it very far, so your prediction is going to be a little bit different as you get further. But as of right now, I know the cop was really up there for you. Now that you've heard some of our info, did your gut change, and do you think she killed herself?
So I'm gonna stick with the cop just because you go to school, you go to academy, no matter what. Like they train you not to touch shit like that. You should know better. And maybe he's just, backtracking and seeing evidence that he might have left behind, covering it up. That's a theory. But hearing your
Like
guys'
that.
theory, it could be. I would vote for the child just because I think that's probably what happened with John Bonet. I think her brother did it, and the parents covered it up. Um, and then as for the mom killing themselves, when people lose a child, I think it's very possible um, to go down that path. So I'm gonna vote that she did.
I thought so too. I mean, until we got here, I really did.
Mhm.
I can understand. Sorry, guys. I can understand why.
But if it was like the child and she's covering, I don't think she did. But if she doesn't know who did it, I think she could have. Just because like it's all unresolved and stuff like that. I think she might have.
Yeah. I felt
Because I
bad.
wouldn't be able to live with my kid being gone. Like that's one thing I could never wish on anybody is having to bury your child before
That should never
that's so
happen.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
No. Stephanie, how about you? Do you think she committed suicide?
I really don't think she did commit suicide. I think that whoever killed January came back for the mom, but I'm so torn. I don't know. I don't know if it's Luke or Billy who killed her. Or and who's the one who put the note on the car for Margot? And then who was that woman standing by outside of Shorty's watching her? I
I
don't
think that is Jason Drag, and I think he still
I
cares about her because they were friends as kids, and I think he told her to get out of there or he was gonna have to kill her. That's my theory, but yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, I'm into it. Can you tell? Would you have taken the robe to protect Robert?
no.
Wow, okay.
I don't think I could because
Okay.
unless you can ask them the questions like what happened, I don't think I could. But you don't know like what Jamie was saying, you don't know what you're gonna do until you're in that situation.
Wow. Yeah. What if Billy found out 10 years later that the twins were Luke's and killed her out of rage? I was reading Emily's um yeah, your comment about that. That is a really yeah, that would be the reason for me to get blindly angry. Tara, do you have any instincts on it?
So I wrote in the chat, but like the more that you all are talking, the more I'm thinking that, first of all, no, I would not take it because if that was my husband, I don't care. I love him, but like I'm not getting involved. So don't bring me into it. So I
Yeah.
would not have taken it. But also, I think that Billy maybe did it and like killed the mom because I think that he didn't want her to tell anybody what happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody would, that would instinctually protect yourself, survival
Yeah.
mechanism. But yeah, that's very interesting. You guys have completely blown my mind. The very last question is a thumbs up one. Do we think, or thumbs down? So do we think Natalie's, the new child was killed by the same person that killed January? If you think yes, it's a thumbs up. If you think no, it's a thumbs down. Okay. We don't have a vote, Melody. You don't know. Okay. All right. Well, we are going to read all the way to the end of chapter 24 for next week. I'm going to share my screen real quickly. It just takes a moment. We're going to do the wheel spin for best attendance from last week. It should pop up for you guys. Can you see it? Anybody? Erin, can you nod for me? Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to start it. Yay, Emily, that's so awesome. Okay, and then I'm going to go through and see if we have a newbie that we need to work on as well. I need to stop my share. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. Only other thing I want to say is happy reading. And everyone take care of themselves this week. If anybody is having trouble with the new administration or struggling with TikTok being banned, just the whole world is just on fire. Literally, message me. I'm here if you need support. I love you all. Happy reading. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.